Hi all, there is a fantastic game played very recently in the Norway chess tournament which I'd like to go over and highlight to you that it actually features a novelty in an amazing new book at Chessable by Chess Explained. Keep it simple book. Chess Explained, as you may know, he's got a fantastic YouTube channel. I've played him a few times in commentary matches. He worked a whole year on this book, and in fact, one of the innovations actually comes up in this master game that we're going to have a look at. Just to quickly browse the book here, it's a ton of work, basically encyclopedic, huge amount of work. But in the introduction, if we look at the introduction text in particular for this book, he mentions that there are dangerous ideas in this, and one of the key differences he points out is about move orders. So you can have transpositions quite a bit more in the D4 systems. And if we look at this master game today, actually, so we're going to go back to the master game mode, we'll see that actually this game, Liren playing white, started with d4, knight f6 and g3. Now Chris actually recommends knight f3 here because after g3 there is the possibility of black playing c5. So this is what Chris recommends on g3 immediately, and in fact there have been quite good results for black in this kind of position. If white pursues with d5, d6, as an example, there's a very high level game. Well, what Wojcicki crushed a lower rated player rather, but there are other high level examples by playing in this position after bishop g2, b5, and black got a really active, aggressive kind of game and went on to win quite quickly. So yeah, c5 is a very interesting idea against g3. It wasn't played though by Fabiano. Fabiano played e6, and we actually transpose to a variation covered by Chris. So after castling, queen c7, knight takes d4, a6, b3, d5, and here it comes, this position, the aggressive c4, d takes c4. You might think this is a bit weird, just to liberate the bishop or something, but the idea here, this is the very, very powerful novelty move, which is featured in Chris's book, is bishop b2. So very, very interesting that Liren played this. It's a kind of very strong positional gambit. Knight a3 has been seen before in Davies against Ems, which was also a very interesting game, but it seems a little bit quirky to play knight a3. This bishop b2 is a very strong gambit as well. We see now Fabiano playing c takes b3, queen takes b3, knight c6. If black plays bishop e7, then actually rook c1 is pretty powerful. This position, there's actually an idea of rook takes c8, believe it or not, and you can see that b7 is under crossfire here. So this is like some of the pressure concretely, how it can destroy black quite early on. So here, knight c6, and we have knight takes c6, but the very, very forcing now move, bishop takes f6, because after queen c3 there's a double attack now against c6 and f6. So really, really powerful innovation, stemming from this gambit. Caruana is already in big trouble here. He played bishop d7. On bishop e7, just letting c6 go, because the queen's protected by the knight, white just plays bishop takes a8, no problem. So bishop d7 protecting c6, offering f6. The trouble with black's position is that the rooks are disconnected. White's rooks enjoy also this semi-open b file. And in fact, we get bishops which remind me very much of a classic game we've covered on this channel where Imachuk crushed Garry Kasparov in a Sicilian defense game, giving up the bishop pair. The bishops are very awkward here, in fact, especially the d7 bishop. So knight c3, rook g6. We could say this is a kind of containment gambit, very, very powerful. But you know, it's white's got the pawn back anyway, so it's not even a gambit now. It's just damage has been done. That bishop on d7 is just a real problem piece in this position. We see bishop e7, rook ac1, king f8, knight e4. We see bishop e8. These bishops are not particularly great. White uses that lovely c5 square now. Queen a5. This seems as though, you know, black's really a bit planless here, just going for the a pawn, as if maybe the black a pawn is going to be useful later, but we have the middle game before that. So the c5 knight is just supported, offering the a2 pawn. With the black rooks kind of disconnected, Caruana is just chasing pawns here. Queen takes a2. So you might think, well, concretely, how is white actually... He's back to, you know, playing a gambit again, isn't he? There's another secondary gambit phase. So pawn down. What is the big deal here? Well, it's this b file. If white can break down that b file and get to the king on the back row, the rooks are not really helping black's king safety. This rook is a bit of a problem in conjunction with this rook. We see bishop e4 hitting the rook. The rook drops back. Rook c2, so gaining a tempo on the queen. Queen a5, rook b1, preparing an infiltration. It's very, very uncomfortable, this position for black. Queen c7, queen f3, with an immediate threat of knight takes e6, because that pawn is now pinned. King g8 is played. So just to put that on the board, rook c8, knight takes e6, end of game, would be winning the queen. So king g8, rook b7, very powerful 7th rank pressure. Bishop d3, preparing things like knight e4 now. Bishop d8. Just as an example, a5, knight e4, queen d8. White could actually take on e7 and get a major attack against h7. This rook lift would mean rook h4. Black would have to give up the exchange, and white would be much better here. If black doesn't give up the exchange in this variation, then rook h4 is pretty crushing. This is absolutely devastation for the black's king safety. So bishop d8, knight e4, queen e5. We have rook c5 gaining another tempo on the queen. Queen d4, rook c4. Okay, but here, queen f4, the queen's stubborn. So queen f4, a5. And now getting to that rank, back row rank, back rank. So, and now look at the bishops. They're pretty precarious. King f8 is played. So this is a very, very tricky position now, because knight d6 is going to cut that connection between the queen and bishop. And this happens in the game now. So cutting the connection, offering even the c5 rook. We see king e7 on queen takes c5. Queen takes d8. e8 is the next target. And white will be absolutely crushing black here. This is an example. Mate could result pretty quickly. So we have king e7, knight takes e8, winning material. So because it's hitting the rook, it's absolutely devastating. Black cannot afford to just take that. This is too strong. White's position with things like rook takes c6. So we have actually queen takes c5. So, you know, king takes, then rook takes c6. That's just crushing. So queen takes c5. Black's going a piece down. So he's only got 2 pawns for it. He's got the outside passed pawn. g4 offers the knight h5 to crawl back to. So the knight's not trapped there. a3. Queen b3 trying to halt this pawn. Bishop b6 hitting f2. That's protected by e3. Queen g5, the knight comes back offering g4. Knight g3, bishop c5. King g2, h5. h3, queen g5. So black has the threat of h4. White unpins with king f1. Queen d5, that's taken. And this pawn is stopped. White is basically a piece up here. This is getting now, black has minimal counterplay and is a piece down. h4 attacked. The king comes over here, h4 attacks again, and yeah, f4, this is very desperate now, that's taken. Knight f3 check, king d3. It's just a piece up, basically, this position with the outside h-pawn. This is absolutely winning, but the game carries on a bit. So let's see. h4, d4. Now we have knight takes a3. White maintains that outside h-pawn here and comes back to try and win black's pawn there. After bishop d3, the game ended here. Actually, black resigned. So the h-pawn is going through here. For example, bishop b2, h6, bishop a1, h7, bishop d4, h8, queening, and white will know how to mate with knight and bishop. Okay. Now, yeah, let's check out actually Chris's book. So Chess Explained. So as I mentioned, I quickly showed you before the introduction. You can find this book in that link there. So that link there. He explains about transpositions here. Let's have a look at the chapter list again. So there's a huge number of variations. In fact, what we'll do, we'll go to the start page and just read a bit of the introduction. So I spent the whole year on this book, and he's very, very assiduous. In fact, for me, Chris is the most encyclopedic player I've known, apart from maybe John Nunn. So, okay, so let's see. Clear, precise, easy to learn, suitable for strong players, suitable for improving players. And he really understands chessball. He has had great success with previous books, quality shining through, basically. And, you know, he's a real perfectionist. Repertoire to last a lifetime. So Selecki has built a better repertoire for a better platform, a comprehensive set of lines with 28 hours of optional video sync introduction to help you understand the real essence of his choices. There is a free 1 hour video sample which I'll put in the description, a link in the description, but basically already getting rave reviews. And you know, if you go into like the chapters, for example, you know, there's video introductions on each chapter as well.
Because here,
so you know, each chapter has an associated video, so a ton of work has been put into this. But you can get a free 1 hour video as well. So there's a countdown, actually 23 days on this 1 hour video. You can't see the two there, unfortunately. Well, I've shown it, but yeah, so 23 days, 22 hours. Yeah, this promotion, get your free lesson here. I'll give you a link for that in the description and the pinned comment. But basically, yeah, a huge course to check out. And this game just happens to have one of the major lines Chris mentioned, this amazing gambit with bishop b2, positional gambit. Okay, hope you check that out, and I hope you enjoyed the main game presentation. Thanks very much.